Atlantis, myth, memory, or moved land? Have you ever heard stories of a mighty civilization swallowed by the sea, lost to time, yet whispered about in maps and legends? Atlantis, a name that evokes wonder. But was it ever real? Where does the Atlantis story come from? And what if the location isn't where everyone expects? Join me as we dive into the legend, the theories, the mysteries. The earliest known source of Atlantis is Plato, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, around 360 BCE. According to Plato, Atlantis was an island, powerful and advanced, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what many believe is the Strait of Gibraltar. Plato's Atlantis had strong naval power, immense wealth, grand architecture, concentric rings of land and water, fertile plains, and resources like gold, silver, and a special glowing metal. He claimed Atlantis existed about 9,000 years before Solon, which, if taken literally, sets its prime around 9600 BCE. Then, in a single day and night of catastrophe, Atlantis sank beneath the waves. Floods, earthquakes, the whole land lost. Plato uses the story partly as a warning against hubris, moral decay. Many scholars believe Atlantis is allegory, a fictional story by Plato to illustrate philosophical ideas. Yet others think there's some historical kernel, maybe inspired by Minoan civilization, or cataclysmic events like volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, sea level rises. But if it was real, where could it have been? The ocean? Beneath ice? In deserts? There are many proposed locations. Let's explore the most popular and most speculative. In the Atlantic Ocean, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, this is closest to Plato's own description. Perhaps a lost island or continent somewhere in the mid-Atlantic. Some tie it to the Azores Islands. Rich at structure, Sahara Desert, Mauritania, the Eye of the Sahara. A circular geological formation with concentric rings, erosion, valleys, dry riverbeds. Some believe this could match Plato as description of Atlantis, concentric rings of land and water. But mainstream science counters. The structure is natural, not built, and lacks evidence of ancient city ruins. Antarctica, a less common but intriguing theory, that Atlantis might be buried under ice in Antarctica, perhaps shifted by pole movements or global catastrophes. Some ancient theorists suggest Earth's axis shifted, moving formerly temperate lands into polar zones. In or near the Mediterranean, some scholars link Atlantis to Thera, Santorini, and the Minoan collapse, or islands in that region. Also proposals around Crete, Cyprus, or submerged parts of the Mediterranean. Caribbean, Bahamas, Bimini Road. There are underwater formations near Bimini Islands, stone blocks, paths. Some claim these are remnants of Atlantis. Mainstream tends to see them as natural rock or coral formations. Sahara Desert beyond Richet and others, as desert once changed from fertile land to arid. The idea, land that was above sea level, may be lush, then dried up or was submerged. Some point at ring structures in satellite images. Antarctic axis shift theory, the idea that Earth's crust shifted or axis moved catastrophically, moving continents or making poles ice over. These events might have buried Atlantis under ice or changed climates drastically. Few scientific evidences support large-scale pole shifting at recent times, but the theory persists in alternative history in fringe communities. What kinds of global disasters could explain the loss of Atlantis, if it existed? Massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions that cause land to sink or collapse. Tsunamis triggered by underwater landslides or asteroid impacts. Sea level rise after the last ice age, flooding coastal lands. Crustal displacement, pole shift theories. Earth's poles or crust shift, altering climates, submerging land, creating ice cover. Alternative history theory lovers like these, though mainstream geology is very cautious. Desertification, regions that were fertile becoming dry, loss of water, change in climate. If Atlantis once existed in a warmer zone, and then a disaster struck, parts of it could be buried, submerged, or frozen. Let's focus on the Antarctica theory. Some claim Antarctica was once temperate, not covered in thick ice, possibly with life, vegetation, even civilizations. Geological evidence does show Antarctica had warmer periods in deep prehistory, when CO levels were higher and climates different. The theory suggests that catastrophes, perhaps a pole shift or crustal shift, or massive climate changes, caused Antarctica to become ice-bound. Atlantis, in these ideas, might lie beneath the ice, its ruins frozen and hidden. But how plausible? Time scales. Antarctica's glaciation began millions of years ago. Plato's Atlantis is placed around 9,000 years before his time. That's far more recent. Geological evidence. No confirmed archaeological remains under Antarctic ice linked to a high civilization from that period. Extreme conditions make preservation unlikely, or at least difficult for us to detect without drilling ice-penetrating radar, etc. Still, the idea persists in alternative history, conspiracy, speculative documentary content. It captures imagination. Image of Atlantis buried under kilometers of ice, lost for ages. So, why has Atlantis captured hearts for millennia? It's a cautionary tale. Power, hubris, downfall. What happens when a society becomes corrupt or loses wisdom? It suggests there is something lost in our past. A memory, a warning, a golden age. It inspires the idea that history has been altered, suppressed, forgotten. That mankind isn't starting from scratch. That our roots may include advanced, lost civilizations. For content creators, for seekers, Atlantis is a blank canvas for mystery, for theory, for adventure. Did Atlantis ever exist? We don't have proof. Is it under the ocean or ice? In the desert? Or purely in metaphor? Maybe it was a real place, maybe a myth, maybe something in between. But the questions, the legends, the enticing possibility that our history is deeper than the textbooks admit, those are real. If Atlantis was out there, perhaps one day we'll find its ruins. Or maybe it already lies beneath our feet, frozen or buried, waiting for the light.